Hello and welcome to our first question and answer session for Phoenix Point. Today I am joined by one of our game designers, Hristo Petkov. Hello.
Hello, Kevin.
Hristo is going to be answering some of the questions from the community that we have gathered from our forums and Reddit over the last few days. If your question doesn't get answered, don't worry, we will have more of these Q&A sessions in the future. We also had quite a few people who asked very similar questions, so you might find there's a question here that is similar to yours but not exact. We've got quite a lot of questions to go through, so we're going to kick off. So we have on first DLC coming along very soon, Blood and Titanium. We've got a lot of people asking about that. So what's in the DLC compared to the base game?
Yeah, okay. This is a huge topic, first of all. And I want to say that along with the DLC, we are introducing a free content patch that has a lot of new content. So I'll go through the free content first. We're introducing some new Pandoran mutations, and we're introducing a new sub-faction of Anu that are fully mutated guys that you can encounter in different missions and so on. Also, in scavenging and in ambush missions, you can encounter human enemies. So there are a lot of improvements in the mission variety. When it comes to DLC itself, it introduces a whole new story that is New Jericho centered. Basically, it has to deal with their project of improving humans and making them half robots, basically. So there is a faction called the Pure that are renegades from New Jericho, and they have some grudge with them. So you encounter them in different missions and follow their story. From the gameplay perspective, the player will be introduced to new bionics that they can alter their soldiers with. They're similar to the mutations in a way, but they have some differences. Like, for example, the bionics retain their damage taken. So basically, after battle, you need to repair them, or else in the next battle you enter, they will be broken like in the previous one. And they have high maintenance costs, but they're extremely strong. This is kind of a new thing for the game. Yeah. Well, basically, this is the most of the things I can tell you without actually spoiling much of the content of the DLC.
Excellent, thank you very much. So just to get some takeaway from that, we've got a free content patch coming, which will include one sub-faction for Disciples of Anu, and then we'll have another sub-faction coming in the DLC as well.
Yes, exactly.
Excellent, fantastic. So another question that we've had is, will we ever have the ability to create custom game modes in the base game?
Not exactly. So basically, fully custom game modes will not be supported in the near future at all, at least. But we are thinking about introducing some tweaks in the options menu that can actually alter your gameplay. For example, reduce or increase the amount of fatigue soldiers are getting in battle, or other small things that people generally do in modes to actually alter their gameplay as they see fit. But those will be introduced in different patches throughout the game development. So I don't have specific dates, but we are planning to do those kind of things.
Excellent, fantastic. Now here's a question that we actually get asked quite a lot, and that's, why didn't base personnel such as scientists, engineers, and guards make it into the game?
They were actually for whoever followed us, they were actually cut very late into development, and with a good reason. Actually, the micromanagement of those scientists, soldiers, and personnel basically was kind of hard, and many people were just forgetting to do it. And it created a lot of UI complications. It's not a module that we don't want in. It's actually very, very interesting module. And if you find a good way to reintroduce into the game, we'll definitely do it. But it's not a high priority at the moment.
Excellent. So that could be something that we add in the future, but it's not something that we're looking at doing right away.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. So with the coming balance changes that we're going to have in the free patch with the DLC, will skills and abilities become more realistic, or are we still going to see sort of super soldiers with these magic-like abilities?
Um, when we're talking about super soldiers and magic-like abilities, I'm thinking that this is because of the 10-second rule. Like one turn into a turn-based game is like 10 seconds into the real world. And I do agree that some of our abilities create this magic atmosphere, but the main reason for this is to create some design space to actually create more interesting and more strategic abilities, basically. Yes, I agree that we didn't strike the right balance, and we are struggling to improve it and make it better. So we are reading your feedback, and we will try to make it as good as possible.
Excellent, thank you. So in the strategic game, are there any plans to make things like storage and research and manufacturing actually work on a per base level rather than globally like they do right now?
This was something that we tested internally, of course, and it created too much management for the players. Although there are definitely players that really like this kind of management, it was the same with the ammunitions and so on. The majority of the players didn't actually like this kind of management. It was a decision made mainly on feedback. So we are not backing up on it for now, for sure, but we are gonna take a close look on what people are experiencing, and we'll see in the future.
Brilliant. Obviously, one of the things that a lot of people are talking about right now is the balance of the game. We know it's something that we haven't really got correct yet.
Yeah.
And we've got a big balance patch coming. So how are these balance changes going to affect the overall difficulty of the game? Is it going to get easier? Is it going to get harder?
Yeah. First of all, I want to say that this patch is not going to be so drastic as the previous one, and you won't experience that huge changes in your immediate games. I mean, if you load the save game, it won't be that much of a change for you. The main goal with the current patch is actually to create more of a distinguish between the different difficulty levels. So basically, what we are aiming for is that on rookie and on veteran, the game should feel easier, and especially on rookie feel much easier, and on legend should feel a bit harder. So technically, the current game should be something like the new heart, basically. Yeah, new hero, the old hero level, basically. So we didn't change much abilities and such. We changed the way the difficulty progresses through the game mainly. So how the Pandorans evolve and how the ODI is progressing. So general flow of the game.
Excellent. I think that's something that people will be looking forward to testing out. Are there any planned changes to trade and recruitment, such as having an overview screen just to make it a little bit easier to find and manage things?
Definitely. For recruitment and for trading, these are overlooked basically for the release, and we know that they need to be remade basically UI wise. So we are working on them, and you can expect them in the very close future basically. I cannot tell you any dates, of course, but it will be soon.
Excellent, that's good to hear. So we've got some UI improvements coming for those. Now here's two very interesting questions. They kind of go together, but we'll do them one at a time. So firstly, what aspects of the game are you most proud of that you feel are working well?
Well, everybody from the company is watching obviously streams and YouTube channels, and what we are very happy is the free aim system, because it creates very fun situations into the game, and people shooting through walls just to hit an enemy that is right behind the wall, or through small holes. This actually worked pretty well, even though it created a lot of programming complications along with it. I think it was worth it. So definitely, I think we did well. There is still room to improvement, obviously, but we are happy with it.
Yeah, it is one of the aspects that some people dislike, but the majority of people really do enjoy the free aim system in Phoenix Point. So here's the opposite side to that question: is what do you feel isn't working as intended, and why is that?
Obviously, the players have lot of opinions about it, but what I agree, what I agree is we didn't hit the right mark with the difficulty, and we are obviously making efforts to improve it. And also, what we wanted to do much better is the diplomacy system, and we have some plans to actually improve it in free content patches to make it much more engaging than what it is now.
Excellent. Now, while the game was in development, from our crowdfunding right through all of our dev blogs up until release, we did show quite a few features that didn't make it into the final cut. What was the reasoning behind them, and are we planning to re-implement them at any point in the future?
Okay, this question is very broad. I'm not sure what exact features are meant here, but all the features that were cut were definitely not an easy thing to do. Basically, everybody loves what we are doing here, and we wanted to give you the best experience. So we wanted to put everything we wanted into the game, but some of them were time pressure, and we needed to cut some things, and we might introduce them later into the game. We have not given up on the good features that we cut, and some of them might not come back at all. I cannot say more without actually specifics on which feature is the exact feature that the players are asking for.
Yeah, of course. I mean, obviously, it doesn't really go into the specifics of what all of those particular features were, so that's understandable. Now, the Pandoran turns can be quite long, particularly on maps that have a lot of enemies on them. Is there anything that we can do to reduce those turn times?
This is definitely an issue. We are looking into it, especially on some maps, and as you said, with a certain number of enemies. And in this patch that is coming with the first DLC, we are already putting some of those improvements, and we are aiming to improve the game in two different departments. First is the actual thinking process of the AI, and we did increase it with quite a lot for this patch. And the second one is animation speed, and it is possible to have an option in the options menu very soon that will give you the opportunity to choose your animation speed up to a certain limit, because it will become too funny if soldiers move at twice the speed they do now.
Excellent, thank you very much. Back to weapons and equipment here. Will we actually see more melee weapons, particularly faction-specific melee weapons?
Yes, we are always investigating the options to put new weapons into the game, especially if we find some fun interactions and so on. And especially for the melee weapons, we have an idea or two, but we're not ready to share them now. So just a reminder, introducing new weapons to the factions is not that simple because of proficiencies. And in some cases, if we, let's say, introduce a melee weapon for New Jericho, they cannot use it effectively because they don't have proficiency. So we need to change the design of proficiencies for different classes also. So it's not a small change, but it's not something we won't be able to do. So it's not going to be soon, but we are looking into it.
Because certainly it's a balance issue, isn't it? If you add one thing, you have to rebalance everything else around that one thing that you've added.
Yeah, exactly.
Are there any plans to add other stats to soldiers, such as bravery, reactions, and accuracy?
I think here the players are asking about things that are in the original UFO game. Not at the current moment, we are not, but in the upcoming DLCs, maybe DLC 2 or 3, we are going to introduce, I would say maybe 3, not 2, but we're going to introduce something new. Not ready to share, of course, it's too early, but we have some ideas of introducing new stats to the soldiers, yes. And when it comes to accuracy is already in the game, but its representation is poor. So we're looking at ways to actually represent it better into the viewscape so people can actually see what these accuracy numbers actually mean. And same goes to stealth. Stealth is not really well represented in the game, so UI needs to be improved, and we are working on it.
Excellent. So we've got lots more exciting things to come to look forward to.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of things that were in the original UFO game, a lot of people are always asking if we have any plans to add manual positioning controls, such as being able to crouch, hunkering down, or going prone.
This is actually a discussion in the design team that came up a lot of times, and we have not given up on it. So we might introduce it if we find the right way to do it. Just a reminder that this is not an easy technical thing to do. It can create a lot of complications, so we want to make it right. If we introduce it, we don't want it to be just there because of no reason. We want it to have strategic value, and we want it to be bug free. So it will take more time if we decide to do that. It's not going to be soon by any means if we decide to introduce such thing.
Excellent, but it's good to know that it might still make its way in at some point in the future.
Yeah, we're still considering it.
Excellent. So was the Alpha Strike glass-jawed superhero feel of the game always intended, or is that something that's just come about because we haven't got the balance quite right at the moment?
A bit of both. Basically, we didn't want the game to be very stale, basically. So we wanted to remove this kind of gameplay with the constant overwatching, just staying at one place, waiting for the enemy to come at you. We wanted a more dynamic play style. We didn't hit the right balance. Maybe we went a bit too far, and we will tone down the mobility abilities maybe a bit down, but we don't want to make decisions very radically and rashly. We want to have all the data and analyze what your guys are giving us, basically. So, yeah.
So moving on to the Pandoran layers and citadels, this is a lot of the feedback that we get, that they feel a bit imbalanced. The layers are too difficult, the citadels are too easy. Do we have any plans to address that in the future?
This is a thing that we are working on at the moment. It is a problem we recognize, and we are trying to solve it as soon as possible. We don't have an estimate, but definitely a thing that is going to be given to you as soon as possible. So that's it.
Excellent. So there's a fix in the works, but no date at the moment. Can you give us some insight into the design philosophy behind the sort of open skills sandbox that we have in Phoenix Point?
Basically, what we wanted to give is this feeling of multi-classing and this strategic decision of how you build your character. We wanted for players to actually express themselves through their soldiers. Yes, some combinations are overpowered maybe, or not balanced enough, and that will always be the case. Some will be better than the others, but we want to make every type of multi-classing basically viable. And when we watched statistics basically and videos, people were actually experimenting quite a lot with the system. And even if it's not perfect, I think its purpose is clear, and people are actually enjoying it. We do want to actually make it better, so we are looking at statistics and at your feedback, so we can work together to make it better.
Excellent. And that's something that I should point out here. We're always looking for feedback from you guys, so go onto the forums, go onto our feedback tool, Canny, with the links to that from the forums and from the website. We look at all of the feedback you guys give us, and it really is invaluable for us to try and get the balance of this game right. So thank you very much. Please keep doing that. Another question we have here is, did you have to make any compromises to release the game on time? And if so, what were the hard decisions to make?
Definitely. As you know, in the game industry, this happens often. We did cut some features, and the main thing that we kind of are sorry that we couldn't have enough time to do is to play test the balance of the game better. But the main reason for that was actually we wanted to put as much content as we can to the very deadline. As professionals, we're not really afraid to actually cut features if we need to meet the deadline, but we try to introduce what we really think it fits the game after release. That's it.
Excellent. And are there any plans to improve the tutorial, which currently misses quite a lot of useful information out?
The tutorial is also a problem that we recognize, and we are going to work to improve it for a long period of time. Basically, it won't happen in a single patch. We'll introduce small changes through the development of the DLCs and free content patches. And one thing that we are aiming at the moment, the first thing we want to add is actually ongoing tutorial. Basically, when you first encounter something like new type of Pandoran, or you get mind control for the first time, an event-based tutorial pops up that explains to you what's happening, because the player gets overwhelmed with the information at the start, and we are obviously missing some of the information, like the players pointed out. So yes, this is the first thing that we're going to do as soon as possible, and we're going to continue improving on the tutorial with the upcoming patches.
That's excellent news. So the tutorial is going to be improving over time, and we're going to be starting off with having some sort of context-sensitive pop-ups.
Yes.
Excellent. And what other kind of quality of life improvements can we expect to see in the future?
As one of the other questions pointed out, we have problems with the recruiting and with the trading. Those are going to get improved. We are working on the UI improvements both for Geoscape and tactical layer of the game. Also, one thing that is kind of requested also is an easier way to manage your soldiers and bases, some kind of and vehicles, of course, some kind of menu or list or different. There are different suggestions about it. So we are working on those to actually improve the general UX of the game.
Fantastic. And will we be getting any deeper character customization options in the future?
Well, of course, we want to do that. It's not a high priority at the moment, but we're definitely looking at ways to make your characters more unique. And one of the things about uniqueness that we're going to introduce relatively soon is to keep a record for your soldiers, what they did, how many battles they encountered and they were in, how many enemies they killed, and so on and so forth. But for the visual customization, our plans are more into the future, let's say more than 6 months. I cannot say anything sooner than that.
That's understandable. So we are looking at adding more soldier customization, but that's not a priority because it's mostly a cosmetic thing. Doesn't affect the game too much right now.
Yeah.
So what about the Mutog, everyone's favorite mutated doggo? Is that getting any love in the future? Because it currently feels a little bit weak.
Yeah, we do recognize that the Mutog is not in the greatest shape at the moment. And we're looking at your feedback, and we are testing some things to make it right. So it will get some laughs very soon.
Excellent. And what about Haven missions? Will we be getting AI defenders in those anytime?
Yeah, this is one of the most asked questions actually, and it's a personal. It's for me, it's very cool idea, and I personally like it quite a lot. The main issue is actually technical, and we want to make it right because we don't want to create more bugs into the game. So it will take us a bit of time, but we are working on it, and it will be there in not very soon, but as soon as possible.
Fantastic. And a lot of people feel that some of the maps are a little bit too small. Is there a chance that we're going to see some bigger maps in the future?
There are some technical limitations on the sizes of the maps, but we are not afraid to actually make bigger maps, and when it fits, we will actually add new maps. I can say that in the second DLC we have some bigger maps. It's too early to say anything specific, but definitely we are looking at a bit bigger maps.
Fantastic. Now we just have a few questions left, which are all in relation to our first DLC, Blood and Titanium. So firstly, will Blood and Titanium's new features be folded into the current game, or will it be standalone? And if it's folded into the current game, will you have to start a new campaign, or will they just be able to be added into your current ongoing game?
Blood and Titanium is not a standalone. It's a DLC. It needs the base game to operate. So basically, for you to experience the content of the DLC, you need to start a new game. It will not work with old saves. It should not break old saves. It should work separately. So I think this kind of answers the question.
Yep, excellent. So just to make that clear for everybody, if you want to play Blood and Titanium, you will need to start a new campaign and activate the DLC, but you'll have some extra content to play through, which we are moving into now, which is will the base storyline and interactions between the factions change in the DLC?
In this exact DLC, the changes in the interactions will be small, mainly concentrated around the two new factions, the Forsaken and the Pure, the Forsaken being the fully mutated one. And their interactions with the other factions, they're attacking different factions. As I said, the Pure don't like New Jericho a lot. So basically, it's not gonna change the story much or the interactions of the factions. In the second DLC, we're planning more changes in this department. So when we are ready to share what we're planning, we'll do.
Excellent, that's fantastic. And again, just a reminder there that those two new sub-factions, while the Pure are part of the DLC, and you'll need the DLC to have those, the Forsaken are part of the free patch that's coming on the same date. And probably the most asked question that we've been receiving, and I know that we haven't been able to give a lot of very specific dates so far, so I'll let you have the pleasure of this one. When will Blood and Titanium release?
Blood and Titanium is going to release on March the 4th, and it will be available for download.
That is fantastic. So March the 4th, which is next Wednesday, just a week to wait, and you will be able to play Blood and Titanium with Phoenix Point. So thank you very much. This has been our first Q&A session. A very big thank you to Hristo Petkov for spending his time here answering your questions. We will have more Q&As in the future, so please do look out on Facebook and Reddit and our forums where we will be collecting more questions. Until then, goodbye for now.